Thank you for doing this.
You're welcome.
So, if we're going to just visit about the lesson I got to observe.
Okay.
And I want to thank you again for letting me do it, because I know it's more time for you, but I really appreciate you letting me come in and watching. And I loved it. I loved to watch the math workshop. I thought you did an amazing job. Well, tell me first, how do you think it went?
I think it went well. I think you got to see my two lower groups. So you got to see, a snippet of it. I think the kids were well behaved and they knew their roles. Again, this is only our third week of doing it. So they're still kind of new to procedures and that kind of thing. But overall, I think it went okay.
And they don't do math workshop in fourth grade, so it's their first time.
No, it's their first experience here.
And so how do you feel like overall, how do you feel like the math workshop is going?
I love it. I like it because it lets me really vary the kinds of lessons that I have with the kids. I can group them and really meet the needs of that group. So instead of doing a whole group lesson and maybe this one didn't get it or this one is bored, I can really kind of adapt it and meet all their needs.
So one of the things I noticed that really jumped out at me that you did so well was just how the kids all knew what to do. So what have you done to set up those procedures so they know what's expected of them?
So we spent a good week just walking through what the expectations were. How do you put this away? How do you get new materials? Where do you get them from? What do you do if you have a question? What if you can't answer something on your own? I really try to build that independence so that they're not coming to me constantly throughout the lessons, because then I can't work with that small group. So we have things put in place, and so we practice using those tools. With their textbooks they can use a peer, they can use Alexa, that kind of thing.
And so what do you do to just reinforce that and keep them on top of it?
So we'll try to meet every like I do a 5-minute mini lesson before we get started, just kind of saying, do you know where you're supposed to go? Do you know what you're supposed to do? And then we wrap it up with the questions and suggestions at the end, just to kind of make sure for the next day they're prepared again.
You can see that because it was great to see how they all knew what to do and where to go.
Mm-hmm.
They were asking each other questions. I got to catch the review at the beginning, and it was just like very effective use of time because it moved real quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was fabulous. What do you do to, sorry, I lost my place. What do you do, how do you organize the groups? Like when I saw you meet with the small groups, how do you organize?
I do pre-test. So I'll look at what my main goal is for that week, and then I'll come up with like a pre-test to give them that Monday. So if we're working on multiplication, so I'll give them a pre-test that just does, single digit by single digit, then I'll do 2-digit by 1-digit, 2-digit by 2-digit, and gradually get harder and harder. And then I grade those and I use those results to group them up. So I'll see, okay, these kids only made it to 2-digit by 1-digit, they're going to go together. These 4 over here were able to do 3-digit times 2-digit. I need to put them together so we can move on and I don't have to remediate for them. And so I create pre-tests for every new section of learning that we're doing. And so
it's not part of the program.
It's not part of the program, but I found by using that, then I can quickly see who goes where, and then I'm not wasting my time when I'm in a small group and you can do it and this one can't, and now we're having to wait for that one to catch up.
Yeah,
so
that's
and it's a very quick one, like it's a 10-question kind of thing. It doesn't take 10-15 minutes to do it. It's not graded, it's just for me to use. Yeah.
And do the kids seem to be getting more used to it, so it's not like they don't stress out if they don't know it? Do they understand the purpose of it better?
So we've been talking about, this is my benchmark for you. Where do you need to be? What's the best thing for you? And so when you tell them it's not graded, I think the pressure kind of comes off.
Yeah.
So yeah,
for sure. So what do you, and you've answered this a little bit, but I didn't get to walk around when they were doing the other group cards.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of things do they do in the other groups besides your mini lesson?
So we have four groupings. The first one is math facts. So everything in that typical area is just building their math fact fluency. Mm-hmm. It's with iPad games, it's with fact quizzes, it's with task cards. The At Your Seat is the practice pages from our curriculum. So what will happen is my low groups will meet with me first, and then the second day they'll do the at your seat. So that's practicing everything I did here. For my high groups, I give them the at their seat first day because a lot of them already know it. And then when they come to me the second day, then I can go over it with them and say, okay, what stalled you? Where did you get? So they can usually do the practice pages independently, whereas my low kids need the reinforcement first, and then they can do those practice pages. Teacher's choices with me, so that's hands-on or whatever I feel like I need to focus on our main lesson that day. And then H is hands-on. So it's some kind of game for them to play. It's something for them to cut out and do. It's some kind of interactive notebook thing. So yeah, and I can always fit them in those four categories.
And are any of the other activities differentiated for the different levels, or they all do the same sort of activities?
So for like math facts, so I can have for the games, so I'll have maybe my low group will do baseball multiplication, which is like basic facts, but my higher group, which they've already know their facts like this, so then I'm going to give them a different game to play that's still working on facts, but it may be 2-digit by 2-digit multiplication or whatever. And then hands-on for the games, like the nice thing is with our curriculum, there's variations of the games. So I can say you're going to be multiplication top it, but your group is going to be multiplication larger numbers. And so what I have is I have my two low groups going back to back, and then my two high groups back to back. So I can, like on the first day, my two low groups are going to the same two stations. So for the next day, I can switch it, and they're not even aware that they're not doing the same thing because that's the first time seeing it.
Gotcha.
I see.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Have you ever considered doing some like differentiated like problem solving for some of the different groups in folders as one of their stations? Have you tried anything like that?
For the problem solving? I do. I usually try to use IXL for that because IXL does a good job of starting out basic, and then the more they get right, the more challenging they get.
Well, that was one of my other questions. They have that new diagnostic tool on there. Have you been using
that?
Is it helpful?
It's really helpful. So I like that. For the problem solving, they do have, like our curriculum has, which is really nice, they have differentiation options. So they have a remediation option, and then they have an extension option. And so that's where you're kind of dealing with the same problem. But the remediation says, okay, here we're going to draw a picture, we're going to do this kind of thing. But the extension is, okay, you've solved this, now what happens if this were happening? Yeah, so I can use those too. And that's what makes it really nice using Workshop with this curriculum, because then it's pretty much already done for me. I just need to plug it into where I see the kids are. Yeah.
Okay, so I know we were talking about doing some sort of videos, like flipped classroom kind of things. What kind of things would you like to do with that?
I use the brain pop videos in here. The other thing I'd like to do is, for me, the main lesson is them with me. If I did flipped classroom, it would probably be more for instruction guidance versus lessons, because again, our curriculum has videos for every skill that they can watch. And then the brain pop, if they don't have it, I go to brain pop and they watch a video there. And they're usually like 3 to 5. So I don't want to reinvent the wheel if it's already there.
Pointless. Yeah. That's the whole idea. And do you ever use those videos like for like the higher kids for their lesson?
Yes.
Instead of meeting with them?
Instead of meeting with them, no. I still meet with all the groups.
To check over.
Yeah, just to check over it. But if I know, like at your seat, because they do their practice pages first, and if I know it's something like I haven't specifically taught yet, I will use one of those videos. Yeah. So like when they were doing area and volume, and they were doing for everybody else, they were doing just regular volume, but my high group was doing extended volume, where you'd like have two cubes on top of each other. So I used Brain Pop for that, and so it explained how you would add them together and that kind of stuff. And so if I feel like At Your Seat might be a little challenging, then I'll throw that 3-minute video in first, and then they do that At Your Seat.
And what goals do you have for yourself? Like as far as in the math workshop in your classroom, what things do you want to, what could I do to help support you in?
For me, I mean, honestly, I'm just trying to get to see how everything will work. I like the flow of it right now, and so my goal this year was just to make it happen and to kind of see, can I fit everything in and that kind of thing. As far as support from other people, I don't know. I mean, as far as my goal for myself is really just kind of making sure that it flowed and that it works. And now I'm finding that planning is a little bit easier because that was a big obstacle at the beginning. Like, how am I going to get all this in? Is this going to be a ton of work trying to plan for? I mean, I'm basically teaching 12 lessons in 2 days. Yeah. And so that's a hefty goal of trying to get all that in and making sure they're all meeting that and that kind of
coming
thing.
in with the different activities for each thing and
Yeah.
kind of inventing that, which will be nice over the next 4 years
Yes.
that it's done. But,
Yes. And our curriculum really does lead to this kind of model, I think, because every lesson plan has differentiation options.
Yeah.
It has a game. It has, everything. So, yeah.
Well, I want to thank you again.
You're welcome.
I
Thank you.
enjoy working with you, and I know we're video, but it's sincere. I enjoy working with you. You have a professionalism about you that's really cool.
Thank you.
And I think what I got to see and hear was amazing. And to listen to you talk about it, it's one of those things anybody would walk in and be like, oh, cool. But to hear how you know everything that's going on and that everything has its own purpose is fabulous.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Awesome.